Tiff Wolf is gonna join me here pretty quickly. Okay, cool. Here we go. Hello. Could you hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay, yes. You can
Okay,
go
cool.
ahead.
Cool. Just want to burn some sage real quick. I just want to do a real little prayer, then we'll go on to the questions and stuff like that.
Definitely. Thanks.
Cool. I just want to send love to anybody that's suffering from domestic violence issues out there. I want to send love to anybody that's suffering from mental health issues out there. I want to send love to any of our ancestors that have passed on to a spirit realm. I want to send love to any woman that has been forced to give birth. I want to send love to our precious Mother Earth. And I still want to send love to everyone that's here today. So thank you guys for joining us at Burn the Wagon. We're here to burn the wagon. That is capitalism, patriarchy, and colonialism. Today, my guest is Tiffany Lopez. So we'll start
Hello.
off just with where you're from and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm from many different places. I'm from San Jose, like originally born and raised San Jose, South Bay area. So that's Muwekma Ohlone territory down there. And I grew up in Hollister as well. That's Amamutsan territory. And yeah, so South Bay area girl, born and raised. Yeah.
Awesome. Hell yeah. So I'm in Amamutsan territory right now, actually in Santa Cruz. So yeah, I actually just started learning a lot about the traditional thing, or like the people of here actually, because there's not actually any members here in Santa Cruz, which is wild. That I did not know about.
Oh wow, yeah, that's interesting. I actually recently went to they have the Amamutsan, they have a park in Gilroy that they have like an amazing exhibit in, but it's on traditional land, of course, but there's like a particular like water area that like has been like a place of like commerce and an intersection for like thousands of years with different tribes. So that's in Gilroy. You need to check that out. I think it's off 101 right there by like the reservoir. But yeah, it's a great area, great location to kind of get familiar with yeah, like their different the culture down there and the different plants and medicines and stuff.
Okay, cool. I'll check it out. Yeah, yeah. So we're talking about tribes and stuff, and we were talking about this the other day. People from Mexico identifying as indigenous. Let's start with where you and your family are from.
Yeah. Well, okay. So that's a really good question. On both of my maternal and paternal sides, they've been in California for over 150 years, and so before that, like in Sonora, Mexico, and different areas of Mexico, but are definitely yeah, from California within the last 150 years. I'm doing like my tribal tracking. I grew up listening to stories about our Yaqui ancestry, as well as our Apache ancestry. But I think being in these circles, we have to come correct, and we have to do our due diligence to find out where and which tribe exactly in which area. So I'm still in the process of identifying specifically, but I'm just trying to listen to the ancestors and what they've told us. And I'm talking to a Yaqui ancestor tracker right now, and so to kind of yeah, to figure this out. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
so
homework.
that's amazing because for me, I was adopted for the first day I was born, so I don't know who I know who my maternal side is, but I don't know my paternal. But I grew up on the Pomo reservation my whole life, so that's all I really know. That's all I was really raised in. That's like I was traditionally named in the roundhouse, and I used to dance as a young kid. So that's the only thing I ever know. But I did do the ancestry test, and it did say have family from Michoacan. So that's something I would want to connect with eventually along the lines. So yeah, that's something I that's reconnecting with certain things is amazing. I encourage it with anybody that's trying to reconnect.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't think there's like a right way to do it. I'm definitely not a gatekeeper of how to connect, but I think, yeah, starting with where you're at and what you're interested in and finding out. And yeah, I think it's once you start, like doing your research, there's so much that comes with that process of education and the spiritual aspect of kind of getting familiar with your ancestry. There's a lot that comes with it. It's a great process.
Absolutely. And I saw that I'm jumping all over the questions out of order a little bit, but
That works.
like we're kind of right in that realm just because let's talk about you being a dancer. How long have you been doing traditional dancing for?
That's a good question. So traditional dancing, I've been doing it um, only for the past like 3 years, actually. Like, I think COVID kind of got me into it, and I've been dancing my entire life, in kind of colonial dancing, if you will. So I've been doing in the dance studio since I was 5 years old, classic ballet, that kind of stuff, and yeah. So like, kind of during COVID, I wanted to get more in contact with the yaki dancing and dancing that would kind of give me medicine as dancing always has, but at this level I want to know more of like our traditional dances. So not too long, honestly, and it's been such a learning experience. And yeah.
And you said the yaki, right?
Yes, yes.
And where's that from?
So the deer dance, well, the Yaqui, the origin story is from Sonora, Mexico. So the Yaqui Valley, that is where the origin story is. But there's a Southern California tribe, and then there's a tribe in Arizona. So we're pretty spread out, and there's some in, of course, California. So, but yeah, originating the origin story in Sonora in the Yaqui Valley.
I think I recently saw a deer dance of some sorts here in the big time in here in Santa Cruz.
Oh
I'm
wow,
not.
really?
Yeah. Because I remember there was a deer head on the person's head that was dancing, but I don't remember where they were from.
Yeah, I know that is really, I know actually there's a Japanese, I know probably wasn't Japanese, but I know of another traditional dance by certain Japanese groups, and they have a deer dance as well. And what's interesting about the deer dance, it's such a unifying animal, and going through that process, I did so much research on the white-tailed deer. And actually, that deer, it's the number one game animal that feeds the entire world. So it's such a unifying animal, and it makes sense that other groups and countries have their own traditional deer dance. And
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah,
I didn't realize that. That's cool. That's a cool
right,
fact
yeah.
about
So
you said the white-tailed deer, right?
the white-tailed deer in particular, but yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And do you do a lot of do you guys go to like big times or anything like that?
So, myself and my friends, I do, not my family. My family, we didn't grow up going to ceremony or big times or anything like that. Um, yeah, and so, I mean, I have in the past couple of years, and I'm like, yeah, getting used to all of it, and I love it. I love going to the events and running into people. Once you go and you see people, they do the circuit and the dancers and the elders, and yeah, so.
It's amazing. And would the language be spoken? Would it be Spanish?
So, oh me, yeah, my family they do speak Spanish. My Spanish is probably really bad. I'm trying, getting better at it, but yeah, Spanish. I speak a little bit of Nahuatl, like a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, my Spanish is awful. Like, it should be better. Because I work in kitchens, like, so I've been around a lot of Spanish speaking people. I can understand it, but it's not something I can have a fluid conversation. You know what I mean? But
Right.
I saw this video the other day that like it was some dude dancing. It was like it's okay if you don't speak Spanish because your ancestors didn't either. So I thought I connected with that. You know what I mean?
I hear you. I do hear my grandma. She was born in Colorado in 1929, but she was raised out in Mexico, and so I hear her telling me though, like, you need to learn Spanish, mija. Like, how come you don't know Spanish yet? So like, I still, being Mexican American, and I still identify as being Latina, and my grandma, she's my culture carrier, and that's how she identified. So I feel like I still have responsibility to learn more throughout my life, and to connect with that community as well, especially all the great, like indigenous influencers, and the indigenous media people that I can connect with. Like, that communication barrier sucks. It sucks.
Yeah, it's like I feel like it's that's a pretty like good language to be able to speak because a lot of people being in California, a lot of Spanish speaking people are here. You know.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to learn the Pomo language as well. So like there's every once in a while I'm like I'll think of a word and call my mom. Do you remember how to say this word? And she's like no, and then she'll have to call my aunt and ask her. But yeah, so I feel you like there's certain things like we our elders hold that we really wanna take into consideration when we learn from them. You know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I know some elders, they've told me, they're like, okay, you need to learn how to introduce yourself, in your indigenous language, and you need to know how to introduce your family and in your language. So, yeah, that's
Yeah, I
definitely.
think that's pretty important. Those are two solid things to know how to say. At least
Mhm.
do it. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's solid. I'm starting to reclaim my indigenous name that I was given in the roundhouse. So that's something that I'm trying to. Today I was like out and about, like, and I completely forgot. I introduced myself and I completely forgot. And I'm like, fuck. I gotta start. I gotta like re-own it. You know what I mean? Because my name is super Spanish. Juan Cruz Dominguez. Like,
Oh,
and
that's
I'm just like,
beautiful.
thank you. I really do like it. But like I do want to try to own what I was given by my elder. You know.
Yeah, of course. So do you do any like traditional dancing or singing?
I used to, and I was actually talking today to someone. I need to get some turkey feathers to get like the regalia made and all that stuff because I really want to get back into dancing because I love dancing. Um, it's been about like over 15 years since I've danced, but we used to have a little dance group. We used to dance at museums. We used to do like schools, all that type of stuff. It was super fun, but I fell off. I moved to Santa Cruz and I completely fell off with everything because I'm so far away. Which now that I'm like 2 years sober, I'm starting to get back into everything that I really like lost myself in. You know.
I hear you. Well, congratulations on
Thank
the
you,
two
thank you.
years. That's huge.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
I wanted to move on to the question about the media work that you're doing in the Bay Area as an indigenous identified person and the work you've done as a producer.
Yeah, I don't know. So just, it feels like such a journey. But I actually, growing up, I danced and I acted in like community college, and I tried to audition for things. So this is how it kind of got started. I tried to audition for things, and you have to kind of make your name, but they were giving me super typical roles. I get it, like the waitress, the nanny, like it's cool, I get on ground, but like so I just got frustrated, so I'm like, let me try to produce. And so I knew people from different colleges in the Bay that do production work, like in their like day to day. And so I interned on a feature film in San Francisco and worked so hard, like it was insane. And like 14-hour days. It's movie sets and commercial sets. They're really brutal. COVID helps a little bit, but yeah, they're a lot. But on every set I'm at, I feel like I'm at home. I don't see many people who look like me on set, but I know I'm supposed to be there. And so, that in turn kind of snowballed into like word of mouth. And then, yeah, that's how I've got most of my jobs, like word of mouth, and kind of, went up the little, responsibility ladder a little bit in productions in the Bay. And I'm actually finishing my last semester at Sonoma State. Oh my gosh, it's taken forever. But so there's that I'm kind of juggling right now with
Man,
production work.
yeah, I've seen a couple of things that you posted that like were you on like were you producing on because I saw a story that you posted at the PGA tour. Were you like working there at the or were you just attending the PGA tour?
Yeah, no, I don't casually attend golf tournaments, but
Yeah,
we
that's why I
are.
was like, that's
But yeah, no. So yeah, I got called on to work as like a production coordinator for their ESPN broadcast or Sports Center broadcast for the PGA Tour in San Francisco, and I mean that was great. It was a great like budget. Obviously, I didn't know Disney owned ESPN, but there's like Disney like branded stuff. I was like, wait, what's going on? But
they own everything. They're like they literally everything in the world they pretty much own. Um,
right, yeah,
but that's really cool because like a golf course, like you said, you don't like attend golf. Yeah, people with our color skin usually are in places like that. That's cool. Is there any other like big companies that you've worked for before, like besides ESPN? Because that's a pretty big company to work for. You know, that's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. ESPN. I mean, I've worked for Netflix. I worked on the show 13 Reasons Why. They actually shot in Sebastopol. So yeah. So
Wow, that's
I
cool.
was
That was a really big show. Like I remember that one.
right, and it's kind of funny. Like I don't know if I can out people, but like it's kind of one of those things. It's like the people that are cool in the show like aren't like how you would think in real life, and the people who are kind of like mean on the show are like super nice. And so that was an interesting experience. But yeah, I had to kind of wrangle like 80 high school students, like the extras, and so yeah, that was a fun job. Okay, so sorry,
No,
Netflix.
you're good. You're good.
I don't know, but you know, a big one. I still want to work for Lucas Studios for George Lucas. That's a goal. I don't want to leave the Bay if I don't work for George Lucas Studios eventually.
That's a dope dream. That'd be amazing. Yeah, because they're doing some dope movies over there.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I worked with like Nike, Converse, worked with the Warriors, and yeah, I have a shoot coming up with a certain athlete that I'm like super excited about. I don't even really watch basketball, but he's like one of the major people. So yeah, and that's yeah.
And like
Netflix.
I was a little extra on like a little movie out in the Bay Area. And like you said, it's like people don't realize like the fucking amount of time that goes into like all this stuff. Like
Yeah.
to like just like everything, the lighting, just like it was wild. And I was only on the set for like the one day, and like I only did like a really small part.
Yeah.
But it was really cool to see all the how everything how the wheels work, you know, how the wheels spin. And like you
Yeah.
said, it's like hard work. You're there for a long time. Like I was there for at least like 10 hours, you know, and I only played a part for like 5 seconds, I think. I just walked.
Right.
I just walked past the camera and that was it. And but it was
Oh,
cool. Like I
cool.
really like being there. But yeah, like producing is a really like stressful job. I feel like.
You know, it can be. I think it depends on the job, you know, and who you work with and for. Obviously, if you have a nice budget, then it's like it helps. You don't have to cut corners and stuff. And I think, you know, I don't know. I think when you love what you do, though, it's like it just kind of comes easy. You know, I've done things that are easier that I feel more stressed about because I just don't like the work. You know, I'm like, well, why am I here? You know, but yeah, I mean, it is. You know, it is stressful. But honestly, like I've been in front of the camera and like behind the camera. I think being in front of the camera is like way more like fun, if you will. And like, you know, you got to be creative and I miss being on like in front of the camera, honestly, and being like the you know, the talent or just yeah, because it is just like I think you get the best of both worlds and you know, the talent gets treated really well and you know, you're not continuously working for 12 hours, you're waiting for 10 hours and, you know, working maybe for one. And so but yeah, I mean I've done so many jobs in the production realm. Yeah, so I've done a lot. Yeah.
So you said you mainly do stuff in the Bay Area. Is there anywhere like you want to do jobs outside of the Bay Area, like you said for Lucasfilms? But yeah, anywhere other than the Bay Area, you're looking to go you go try out your skills.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think since I started doing productions, everyone's like, go to LA, go to LA. Like, why is she in LA? And, you know, I've always figured I'd go down there if I got a job offer. So I have a couple of job offers. I want to finish my schooling up here, but, you know, I might do the LA thing, you know, and learn as much as I can and bring it back to our communities. That's my biggest goal. So, any you know group out there that's willing to support that you know my salary you know I'm willing to learn. I want to learn from like the bigger you know production companies and stuff so
Yeah, it's amazing because as a kid, I was always like I always wanted to get into theater and to like acting and stuff, but I feel like on the reservation it was kind of I don't know like I would have been made fun of, and I don't know if I would have been, but as a male, I feel like it was something that toxic masculinity wouldn't allow people to me like they would make fun of me for it. And I
Right.
was always afraid, but like now I'm like I kind of want to do some shit like that. Like being an extra was always like a dream that I had that I wanted to do. And now that it's accomplished, I'm like, all right, what's the next thing I want to do in it? Like I want to do a lot. Like, can I have a line in something? You know what I mean? Just to try it out to see what it's like. Because I liked it. It was cool to be in front of the camera, like you said. It was really awesome. Yeah, yeah. Did you have any topics that you wanted to bring up? I forgot to ask you before we came on here.
Um, you know what? I mean, I'm not, I don't really know in particular. I think this one is kind of interesting talking about, talking about wanting to act and things like that. And I think, what our community needs, whether, the indigenous community, Northern California natives, or, California Mexican community, I think what we need is, we need people to back us. We need like casting. I've thought a lot about like doing like, like a casting agency where, we do get people that usually, can audition, that live in the reservations or live in certain neighborhoods where they don't have access to production studios and things like that. I know coming from Hollister, there's like a big performing arts community out there, and I was a part of. But the kids out there in Hollister, Gilroy, all that area, there's nothing for them really to do, and I say that from experience because family and stories. I'm sure and just I to give them access to not only maybe like a theater, but to like access to audition for bigger roles. I think authenticity is huge in storytelling, and I think when you get people from either the reservations or from those communities to represent those people, the authenticity is just there. And I think viewers know it, just like the success of Res Dogs, and they're from the Res. So it's like, if you want to tell these stories, you need to go to those communities. But, I think, we need to build that infrastructure for the youth so they can have these outlets. Because yeah, I grew up with seven brothers. One of them was like the thespian one, and he was kind of made fun of and things like that. But if we give him cool roles, if we give him the role, like it's fine. Like there's so much diversity in acting, and it doesn't need to be like all Shakespearean or all ballet. Like we can tell stories that they're comfortable with. So
Absolutely, and there's a lot of talent in our communities, whether it's in from on reservations or in I like to say from the reservations to the barrios. Like there's a lot of talent in between those two spaces. And I think that's a really good idea of having a talent agency just based for indigenous or Latino identifying people. That would be amazing because there's not a lot of people and there's not a lot of shows that like try to represent for like the actual people, like you said, the authenticity of things, and that's what the viewers really want. And like you're saying, that's amazing. The Res Dogs are doing an amazing thing of that, because like I grew up like I said, it's uncanny of how like spot on the accents are, the jokes, the just the people, just the amount of characters that they broadcast like on reservation. It's wild. It's like it's completely spot on. It's crazy to watch.
right. But you have native writers, you have native writers, actors, directors, like even if you have like native actors, if you don't have them like behind the camera, then like, then you're kind of missing it a little bit. But yeah, that's a great example of like they need to run the stories.
100%, yeah. And it's crazy to see that like all the way in California in this little tiny town, there's the same jokes and the same like banter and the same style of talk all the way in Oklahoma, or like you know what I mean, like you're saying, it's all native writers, and they didn't all grow up in where I grew up, but it's the same exact thing. It's the same
Right.
jokes. And I was saying that with a friend the other day. I was at like a party we were at with there's a person from Argentina, there's a person from Chile, and then there are a couple other places. Like, but everyone was like getting like everyone had the same jokes. Everyone had the same, it was all the same
It's
shit.
culture. Yeah, similar culture. Yeah, it's a unifying culture. Yeah. And actually speaking of that, out there in on Mamutzen land, there's the in San Juan Bautista, there's the Teatro Campesino. And that's an old, it's kind of crazy. I just learned this story, which kind of sucks. So that theater in San Juan Bautista is where they staged that movie or that play Zoot Suit for the first time. And Zoot Suit it was like on Broadway within like the first 6 months of opening. And it opened in San Juan Bautista. And within like 6 months, it went on Broadway. And so it just reminds me of just like these, the stories from the land and how long and how well we can tell our own stories, and even how well it can be received in the United States, and in the non-native community. Like, it's, they do want to know more. Most Americans, most people in the United States want to know more about native culture and identity. And that's really good data that I got from Redbud Resource Group, a great nonprofit, that I collaborate with. And so yeah, the stories are out there, and you need to check out that theater. I wanted to go to that theater, but it's really old. But it started with like farm workers, and they were telling stories and trying to get people to sign up for the union, but through these little actos, these little acts and stuff. So there's a lot of good
That's
history.
that's amazing. The Zoot Suits was back when there was riots because they were wearing suits a certain style, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was like the Pachuco style, and it was, in Southern California where like the riots broke out. But there was a lot of Navy men and U.S. white Americans that would like straight up like abuse people, men and women who wore those clothing and style and everything. And yeah, it was a big old riot, and people were wrongfully accused, of course. More brown people behind bars and all that. But Edward James Olmos, he starred in the movie. I believe he starred in the play as well. But yeah, it's a great, yeah, it's a classic. It's a classic movie, classic play. And I recently figured out like how far it went, and it came from our barrio down there.
That's amazing, and that's cool. And I hope when was this that it made it all the way back to Broadway?
So the Zoot Suit. That's a really good question. I don't even like. I don't 70s, 80s. I
And
don't know exactly, but yeah, out of
hopefully
San
they
Juan Bautista.
hopefully they kept the representation from San Juan Bautista all the way to the Broadway. You know what I mean?
I believe they did. I believe they did. So I recently like relocated down there a little bit, so I want to go and see if I could like conjure up those those spirits down there from my parents grew up in the fields as children, and my grandmother as well, from picking from places all over California. And so I have really big ties to the land, and wanting to tell stories from yeah, that time.
And actually, the
Yeah,
farm. I don't know if you've seen this on Instagram, but farm workers are actually walking for like 20 something days.
they
Um,
are, yes.
from I can't remember, but they're walking a lot of cities. That's an amazing thing to do. And I feel like if the governor doesn't sign it, like he should be already signing it like right now, like that he's seeing people are walking that far to like make it this point, you know.
Yeah, I hope so. I think, it's great to get, that attention, and hopefully, our governor does sign it. I know there's so much work to do in that community, and everything that's going on with farm workers and families in general. And I want to ride this wave a little bit, and I want to go to Sacramento on the last day. They're going to be in Sacramento, I think, on the 26th. But they're going from Delano and Stockton and Fresno, and these are all places my family picked as well. And so it's like, yeah, like I want to go join and support. And I think, like with the farm workers here for Mexicans, I think that's almost ground zero for a lot of social justice work in general. It's yeah.
If majority of our United States should care because they feed majority of the country. You know what I mean? They pick majority of the fruit, the vegetables that people are eating in the grocery stores. People are going to New Leaf with this, or they want that organic shit. They better think about the people picking it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. There's a big kind of thing going around, that community of farm workers just not being seen. You know, we drive by and we see them picking from afar, but like, do you see their faces? You know, like, no, like we don't. And so, I know people from the Latino community that in media who are trying to bring more awareness and just like, like bring humanity to these, these people that like need to be represented, that aren't seen as like, everyday, workers. Yeah, there needs to be a lot of awareness,
Yeah,
about
absolutely, and
addressing this
everything from
role.
their pay to their living conditions to everything, it needs to change because like they're getting mistreated a lot of the times in these on these farms, working crazy hours, and they're working just through a pandemic. They work through fires, they work through all kind of shit. It's wild to think about that. Like you're saying, not a lot of people think about these people's faces and what they have to go through to get that the things that we're eating. So it's wild, and like Watsonville in Salinas is a huge producer of strawberries and stuff like that, and artichokes, like, and we pass by them and stuff, and like you said, people don't really think about like who are these people, what are their stories, and like this is a big reason I started this podcast to broadcast people's stories and tell who we are, because people tend to talk about us in the past tense. They
Right.
say, "Oh, this is how they used to live. This is what they used to do." No, we're just still doing this shit. We're still here. We're still picking. Like my mom, she makes pine needle baskets, so she still gets out there and picks the actual pine needles. We picked abalone shells that she puts on the side. So we're still here. We're still doing this shit, and we want people to see. And like you said, people want to see this shit. So we need to like let them. We need to. It sucks, but we need to play the social media game. We need to get out there and so show people what we're doing.
Definitely. I hear you. It does suck because it could be like a load and a task, and like who wants to be on social media all the time? But it is a beautiful thing, and especially getting out to these rural places where we live, and that access to mainstream media isn't as prevalent. But like social media, you can jump online even if you're off grade. Like you can jump online and yeah, it's a powerful tool, and yeah, I'm just lucky to film. I'm lucky to film stories. I want to continue to like share stories from underrepresented communities across the board. And yeah, there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of
There
work to
is,
do.
there is, but I think, in when you said when COVID hit, it I think COVID kind of helped a lot of people, or at least this is what I've seen. Like a lot of people are like, I really want to reconnect to things. I really want to like find what I'm about, or who I'm about. And
Right.
I'm seeing a lot of like a movement of people just being on social media, natives on social media, pushing their art, pushing their beating, pushing everything that they're doing, and I think it's amazing. And I think it's amazing that you're out there filming people, you're out there getting as much as you can, with as many groups or whoever you're filming. I think that's amazing, because we need to get everything that we can filmed, because the future is going to be it's going to be what we're doing. It's going to be everything's on the screen now, and like you said, people, if they're off grid, they can go to some point where they can get Wi-Fi and they can download this on YouTube and take it back to their house, and that I or you said can connect with them. And that's the main goal of everything is to connect with somebody and hopefully change their mindset, or help them go forward with thinking, or help them connect to what they want to connect to.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a strong point. So wait, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. So what made you want to like reconnect?
Like reconnect after being sober.
Reconnect. Well, oh yeah, okay. Well, yeah, reconnect with yeah, with your ancestry, with your culture, and
So I was raised Christian, and my mom, she reluctantly allowed me to dance and get named in the roundhouse, but so she didn't allow me to like fully be immersed in the lifestyle. And recently, just like with all this wave of like just seeing people reconnecting, and there was a couple of marches I went to, and like hearing people speak and hearing, and then I would go home and ask my mom questions and stuff like that, and we would I would remember words of the language that I remember when I was a kid and stuff like that. Like, man, I knew a lot when I was a kid. I really should like reconnect with this and get back with this because I lost a lot. I lost myself in alcohol and drinking and partying. So yeah, I became sober, I just really started getting back to who I once was, but with more of a matured mindset, I guess. So yeah, I think COVID really like kind of sat me down and like really like made me think of like who I want to be and where I want to go with my life.
Right. Yeah. Wasn't COVID like a good reset? Like I know we lost people and unfortunately, there were deaths that happened, yet there's a lot of people that things are put in perspective, I think with that tragedy and crisis but nonetheless, a good reset for a lot of people. And, I hear similar stories, about reconnecting throughout that time because there's a lot of self-reflection time, downtime, and, yeah, it was a similar experience during that time with me.
You too, yeah, that's great. Yeah, that was a good question because like I never really thought about that. Like, what really made me like just like get back into it because I lost it. I lost a lot of the language. Like, it's crazy how much I knew before. Um,
Right.
and it's all just like coming back to me, and I'm trying to write down as much as I can and asking as many questions as I can to the elders. Because like you said,
Right.
we lost. There's some elders we lost during COVID that there's things that they held that we won't be able to learn. And I mean, they did pass it on, but like it's different learning from like that person that knew, that has
Firsthand.
done it 1,000 times in their life. Like my mom, she makes fry bread. She makes a couple other like traditional breads that I wouldn't be like I've learned how to make it from her, but I wouldn't be able to make it like her or teach you like her.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, like I really think COVID it made me connect to or want to connect with my family because I know when I go back home because I haven't seen them in 2 years, I'm like, fuck, man, I want to see every single one of you guys for hours. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Yeah.
so yeah, that was a really good question. Thank you for that one.
Yeah.
But I think that's all the questions I have for now. Unless you had any topics, if anybody out there had a question for us, definitely you could ask it. But I really appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate the work that you're doing, getting out there and filming and producing and trying to get Native people, Indigenous people in front of the camera. Because that's amazing. That's what we need is representation.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and I love all the work you're doing. I always appreciate, like a native man kind of like using his voice for women and for people that are just his community. And I think it's a beautiful thing what you're doing. And yeah, I'm gonna stay tuned and thanks for having me. And yeah, anyone out there, watching this, reach out to me. I'm open, send me a message. And yeah, I'm like curious, about our community and would love to connect. So
Absolutely. And if you're ever in Santa Cruz too, we can do an in-person interview too as well. Because I'm trying to do it. That's the only reason I do Instagram lives is because I want to do as many people out there. And there's not a lot of Indigenous people here in Santa Cruz, so I have to do that way. But
definitely, yeah.
if you're ever here in Santa Cruz or ever I'm in San Jose, I'd love to do an in-person interview because that's the main goal is to do
Right.
in-person interviews. But yeah,
Yeah, sounds good. I'm down. Well, you take care and thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you guys. Thank everyone that joined today. I think we're. Thank you everyone for that join today. Really appreciate it. If anyone wants to join me one of these days, definitely tap in. If you have anybody that knows that would want to be interviewed, definitely reach out. Yahui, thank you for joining me, and peace and love. All right. Thank you guys. Peace.